Hi, I'm Madeline Hayes, and this is David Addison.
Right. And we'd just like to take a minute or two before the show starts to welcome you back to another season of Moonlighting.
That's right. That's wrong.
Wait a
I don't
second.
know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm doing here.
You're here because we're welcoming people back to another season.
Ha.
You're here because the network wants us to welcome the viewers
Double
back.
ha.
You're here because Lou told you
We
to
can say it. We can say it. The network says tonight's show is too short. The network says every show has to be 1 hour long, not 59 minutes, not 61 minutes, 60 minutes long, and we're a minute short.
Great, now the whole world knows. Mr. Thermopolis,
And do you know
Mr.
why
Ehrlich,
we're a
I'm
minute
very
short?
Karen, get my
Because you
agent
talk
on the
too
phone,
fast.
please. Not
You
because
slow
I'm
down
talking
once
fast,
in a while.
because you're
Maybe we could
talking
have a
when
show
I'm
that lasts
talking.
an hour. That's it. I've had
That's it. If the
the
producers want to welcome the viewers back,
they
let
can
them
do
do
it
it themselves.
We're talking Moonlighting, Part 2. Hit it. It was 1985. The first group of Japanese astronauts were selected. The first mobile phone call was made in the UK. Michael Jackson bought every Beatles song for $47 million. And Cybill Shepherd and Bruce Willis starred as a pair of bickering private detectives. I'm your host, Jerry D, with another episode, a sequel episode of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, and fads. If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, we got it covered. Now, joining me are 3 Blue Moon Detective Agency private investigators. My first guest is a Totally Rad Christmas and All-Star and Ratty winner from Saturday Morning Mafia. It's Michael Kristelman. Michael, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm wonderful, man.
Great.
Been a long time.
I think we did the first Moonlighting episode probably 2020.
It was in season 1, yes.
Yeah. So it's been a while.
It's been a while, yes, sir. My next guest is also a Totally Rad Christmas All-Star from Sounds of Christmas. It's Ken Kessler. Ken, how are you?
So far, so good. And you?
You know, I can't complain. And by the time this drops, it's not quite Ratty time yet, so I can't say if you're a Ratty winner or not. But you're definitely a Ratty nominee. So,
you know, it's an honor to be nominated.
There you go. there you go. But finally, it's brand new to the show from the Retro Network. It's Karen Flieger. Karen, what's happening?
Hi, just getting ready to talk about one of my favorite grown-up shows from the 80s. There were the cartoons, and then there were the shows that, oh, you mean I get to stay up and watch something that the big people watch?
Yep. That's pretty much how I felt too. Yep. But before we dive into our main topic, I have a brand new segment called Hit Me with the Toaster. So I want you guys to hit me with the first answer you can think of here. Okay. What is, and we'll go in this order, Karen, Ken, Michael, what is your favorite 80s movie?
Back to the Future.
Nice.
Princess Bride.
Ooh, good.
Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, man, those are all killer. Okay, what about your favorite 80s TV show?
Probably Moonlighting.
Yeah, I would probably say Moonlighting, too.
I will probably say Moonlighting as well.
now you feel obligated to say Moonlighting?
No, it was very close, but I'm going to do it.
All right. Favorite 80s song?
99 Left Balloons.
Wow.
It has my last name in it.
Oh, there you go.
In the German version.
Favorite 80s song? This changes constantly, but...
Well, for today, for right now, the one...
For today, Arthur's theme.
Oh,
Nice.
Mellow. I dig it. Yeah.
Glory Days by Bruce Springsteen.
That's all.
Oh,
those
yeah,
are
that
all
was a good
killer
one.
songs. And finally, favorite 80s toy or device?
Strawberry Shortcake.
All right.
Sony Walkman.
Oh, yes.
I've said this many times before, but the G.I. Joe F-14.
The Sky Striker. All right. I dig it. So now our listeners know a little bit more about you guys, and we're very grateful. But we're here to talk about Moonlighting.
Somewhat by night, somewhat by day.
What do you guys remember? Like, what's your history with Moonlighting?
The first memory I have was that I went home early from school that day because I had whatever bug was going around. So I remember watching. I don't remember if it was this episode or another episode, because there was an episode that I remember seeing where Maddie was in a parking garage. And I don't remember if it was like they were repeating the pilot or what episode it was, but I just remember seeing Cybill Shepherd walking around in a parking garage. And I had, my little bowl of Jello because my throat hurt.
Yeah.
And I was just laying on the couch. I had my pillow, I had a stuffed animal, and I was just enjoying the like I said, the grown-up TV show.
Yeah, right on. Ken?
For me, Moonlighting was the first event TV show. I would get together. I don't think it was right off the bat from the pilot, but shortly after that, I got together with a couple of friends every Tuesday night, and we watched Moonlighting, and then we watched 30-something every week.
That's right.
That's another one I got to cover soon. So good. Yeah. And what about you, Michael?
I was 7th grade, and somehow my best friend and I found it, and we just watched it every week, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you're right. This is like one of the first shows to really elevate itself in an odd way. So there was a lot of course, great, Emmy winners and fantastic writing, but this one was different. It was very meta. It was like Howard Hawks meets Dan Harmon, but throw in a little soap opera in there as well. I mean, it's just something about it. It was very, you're right, grown up. It felt almost like they weren't talking down to us, but rather, trying to aim for like a higher level of writing there was something just special and really unique about it.
well, I remember it being the first show that I remember or I was aware of that broke the fourth wall.
Right.
And I love the breaking the fourth wall. So that was awesome for me.
And it felt to me like the characters knew that we, the audience, were in on the joke.
Yeah.
Whatever was
I
going
can
on.
agree.
Because
Yeah.
they would look right at the screen and they would, and they break
Yeah.
the fourth wall and they would say something. What is this? A Christmas episode?
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Or you bet you didn't think you could get away with that, or something like that. The network would never let us get away with it. Yeah, but just this whole show, and I'm kind of right there with Karen and Michael. I was a little bit younger, and so it felt like the grown-up show.
Yeah.
But Bruce Willis was like the coolest guy. It's like there was a few cool guys in the 80s that you just wanted to be, and Michael Knight from Knight Rider.
Yes.
And for sure, Bruce, David Addison from Moonlighting. He had that, hey, how's it going? I'm cool. What are you doing here? I mean, just everything about Bruce Willis's vibe in this show.
I remember when they announced that he was going to star in the Die Hard movie.
Die Hard. Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that's ridiculous. David Addison as an action star. That's as crazy as Michael Keaton being Batman.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, that's why his fee was, his salary was so high, because it really was like a huge risk for him. And I think at the time it was like the highest anyone had ever been paid. It was just a ridiculously high fee. But I mean, yeah, David Addison, like in a building, shooting terrorists. Come on now.
That's exactly the way we looked at it until, the movie started.
Right.
The part where he says, "Come on out," where he's talking about, "Come on out to the coast, we'll have a few laughs." It totally sounds like something David would say, though.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
In that sense, it kind of felt like in that part of Die Hard, he's kind of breaking the fourth wall, giving us a little bit of Moonlighting.
A little bit, yeah. There's a little bit of of David coming through.
Well, every one of my teachers from 7th grade on would have to thank David Addison for my, smart aleck ways.
Your behavior.
So, that's where it started.
Yeah.
No, I really remember thinking I can be like this. So I, started to tell jokes and, was that way.
Well, and even though it wasn't like the first show to have any kind of tension between, a sexual tension between the two leads. This one,
Sam
for
and
some reason,
Diane.
it just felt,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like I said, it's not the first, but it felt like it's just fresh. And this is like the first one that I myself was invested in. And I loved Cheers. I loved, all those shows that kind of did it. But this one was just, I don't know. You're right. It felt more grown up. It felt more special and unique, and like they were aiming for me, even though I know they weren't. I wasn't the demographic at all, but but it totally hit me.
Yeah.
What was that like with you and your friends, Ken?
There was all the will they, won't they
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And we used to talk about that during the commercial breaks. For those who are younger and listening, when shows
The what break?
it's like if you pay
What?
if you don't pay for the top tier on Hulu and you get ads, it was like that.
Yeah.
But we would talk about it and whether or not that would be a good thing if they got together. Because where would the show go
Mm-hmm.
if they were together? So we were
Exactly.
like, I don't know. They probably need to keep them apart. And somebody would say, "Oh no, they're getting together tonight," and then he knocks on the door and there's a guy who answers or something,
Yeah.
Yep. Mark Harmon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
He was a legit love interest for a
Yeah.
bit. Very
Yep.
much a rival. It's one of those where like I wanted them to get together so bad, but you're right. It's like look what happened afterwards. It was very awkward, and it almost, I don't want to say ruined the show, but it definitely, there was a lot.
Changed it.
It definitely changed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just wasn't quite the same
Nope.
as far as like cast gelling, I think. But we also don't get that conclusion that we really wanted, because famously that very last episode is, they're trying to beg the producer. They go to
Yes.
the studio head.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Well, and I think there was a pretty big gap, I think, when they aired, because I think they only had like 65 episodes. So when that last episode, it was like, I'm going to watch it, but I was so far removed from it. That also seemed like a down as well.
mm-hmm. And I think because some of that happened during the writer's strike, I believe.
Yeah,
And,
I think so.
and so some things had to be changed, unfortunately. What are you going to do when writers go on strike? You're kind of up a creek. But they had like some fantastic episodes. There was the Shakespeare one.
That's exactly the one I was going to say.
Yeah.
10
Yeah,
minutes
me too.
through.
There's the
This is the Shakespeare.
nice.
The reason I majored in English.
Oh wow.
Really?
That the Atomic Shakespeare episode.
Cool.
And it was so funny when like How I Met Your Mother did the rhyming episode, and they're like, it's never been done. It's like, yes, it has. Moonlighting did it first, guys.
Yeah. 30 years ago.
That's right. Yeah, it's they had that one. There was the dream sequence one. Just
The black and white one.
The black and white one. Yeah, I mean, there's so many cool, fun episodes that we don't really get stuff like that anymore. Very few shows I feel like are designed to kind of experiment that way.
Yeah.
Oh, and the chemistry between David Addison and Maddie Hayes was so terrific
Mm-hmm.
that their banter made the show. Because if you look at like the pilot episode, the plot really thin.
Mhm.
That she lost all her money, so she's going to sell the place, and he doesn't want her to sell it, so they take this one case, and it's a bizarre case, and seems almost, if you say it out loud, that somebody stole some diamonds from World War II, and there's been hidden for 30 years, and some guy has a watch that has the secret in it, that where they are. And it all sounds kind of ridiculous.
It feels
but
like a Simpsons
the way-
episode, honestly.
yeah, but the chemistry and the banter between the two of them for this, where the guy hits Bruce Willis and he spits out a tooth and he says, "Plenty more where that came from." All that kind of stuff is really made it
Mhm.
so that the case and the plot and weren't as important as these characters.
Right.
And this is just the pilot, just them starting it.
Yeah.
But it was just so unique. The chemistry and the banter, the writing was so great. And it was something that you didn't see on TV.
No, yeah.
You didn't see that kind of
Mm-mm.
intelligent but silly, and you just didn't see that anywhere.
Yep.
And that really made it something special right from that first episode.
Do y'all have any favorite episodes?
I probably the Taming of the Shrew.
Yeah.
I still hear the song David sang, and I immediately go back 30 years when I hear it. So
I mean, I guess that's a popular one. I imagine most of us would say it.
yeah,
And
probably.
when I was listening to the commentary on the DVD of the Shakespeare episode, they talked about that was actually the lowest rated episode during their run.
Wow.
But it aired the first time it aired a couple times before Thanksgiving, a couple days before Thanksgiving. So you have to kind of think about, well, people were probably traveling. People may have, set up their VCRs to record it and didn't get to watch it until they got back. And back in those days, it wasn't like having a DVR where, later viewings counted.
Well, and if you, I'm assuming if you're just flipping channels and you see Shakespeare dialogue and dressed like Shakespeare, you might just keep flipping channels.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
True,
so
it's very true.
It's like, was Moonlighting preempted this week? What's
exactly.
this?
Exactly.
And what else is on?
Yeah, exactly.
I think for me, it's the pilot episode that just sticks with me, because this was the beginning of something that was really cool, and just the one-liners and the things ways you meet these characters, and they're in these situations where the guy is going to burn Bruce Willis's face on the stove, and he's wisecracking the whole time. He never breaks character. He's always like that. They're in that restaurant. The guy comes out of the elevator and has been stabbed in the back and bits out that watch. And he says that thing, it's going to have cooties the size of bed bugs or something like that. He spits it out. And it's just, it just, all of that stuff just really stuck with me, as this is something brand new that hasn't been done.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this was the whole show in general. It was an in-house production, and they kind of let what's the name, Glenn Gordon Caron.
Yeah.
They kind of let him have a lot of freedom. He pretty much had reign over everything, and a lot of the segments, the breaking the fourth walls, that kind of stuff, just happened because they were saying the dialogue so fast that they weren't writing enough pages for it, and they needed to fill time. So a lot of these ideas just kind of came up like, hey, what can we throw in here? And so they would do those little tags at the front, or, something to kind of just, like you said, break the fourth wall, kind of set up everything. And it was just, you could tell in a way they were just throwing stuff at the wall to see what would stick. But in a way, somehow it mostly stuck.
Yeah.
Which is unusual for, a production that does that. Usually when you have so many ideas and you're just throwing it all in there, usually it's pretty terrible. But in this case, it actually seemed to work.
Yep.
It's that lightning in a bottle idea. I think George Clooney used that phrase to describe ER and ER's popularity. Every now and then you just get that one right mix of people and of writers and production and network and time slot, and it just, look at Seinfeld. And I thought of Seinfeld when I watched the pilot. I thought of Seinfeld because one of the first shots as Maddie is coming down the stairs, you see Liz Sheridan, who was Mrs. Arcmonic for Alf viewers, and also played Jerry Seinfeld's mom on Seinfeld.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, gee, there's a familiar face right off the bat. And the guy who spits out the watch, I don't know if this is who he is, but he looked so much like the guy in Greece who in the drag race against it was going to be
Crater Face. Is that his name?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, it looks so much like
he
the
does.
hair and everything. And I'm wondering if that was him.
I don't know. I don't know, but I know that the episodes were very, very expensive to shoot. I know that their scripts, even though they were twice as long as normal scripts, they still were short. And it's just one of those where it's like a lot of love and thought really went into these, but because they were so long and so fast, and so expensive, they just took long to shoot, or vice versa. Maybe they took long to shoot and they ballooned to the expense. I don't know. But either way, I think you're right. We really did kind of capture some magic. And you can really see that in this Christmas episode that we're going to be talking about here.
Well, I think season 3, where this episode was kind of the pinnacle. I think it was before they got together. So everything was on an upwards. So yeah, I think this was like prime time for Moonlighting. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
And so much about Moonlighting was, and I hate to keep saying the same thing, but was different from everything else, because you would hear, I mean, there was no internet then, but you would hear that there were problems between cast members.
Right.
There were weeks where there was no new episode for one reason or another. You didn't really know why. And then they sort of shifted the focus for a while to Herb and Agnes.
Yeah.
And they were solving the cases and stuff.
Right.
And they still treated the audience like, you're in on this joke with us. We know that the stars aren't here, and this is what we're doing. There was even a promo that the actors that played her, Viola and Agnes DePesto, did, where they pretended to be David and Maddie, and they talked about the new season, the new episodes coming up, and they can't wait to see us again.
Well, there's a promo somewhere where we are David and Maddie. We're actually sitting on the desk in Maddie's office, and I'm wearing one of Bruce's suits, and she's dressed
in a wig.
And the two of us did a promo for the show that way, and it never shown up since.
Even though there were problems, obviously, behind the scenes,
right?
They didn't lie to us or pander to us. They let us know, we know this isn't what you're expecting, but come on with us anyway.
It'll still be fun. Yeah. It's funny because every time I saw Viola on screen, I always thought Booger. Yeah, that was like my first thought. I just every single time, like no matter what, every single time, I was just like, nerds, which was funny because I was a little nerdy kid too. But either way, it was yeah. Yeah. So let's go ahead and dive into this Christmas episode called "It's a Wonderful Job" from season 3. This was their second Christmas episode. The first one was they did a whole kind of spoof of the nativity. There was the three kings at the end, even the FBI guys. And here in this one, it's kind of a homage to "It's a Wonderful Life." Classic Christmas tale here. I really liked it. I loved that they got was it Richard Lambertini? Or Libertini?
Heart to Heart.
No. The guy from Fletch, the boss from Fletch.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Libertini.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that they got him as the angel. Every time I see him, I just get warm fuzzies because he was in that. He was in Popeye. He was in he's Mary's Mel Gibson and Rene Russo in Lethal Weapon 4. I mean, he's one of those character actors.
Oh, okay.
And you're just like, I love that guy. Yeah, so that was my first thought.
He kind of reminded me a little bit of the guy who plays Murray on Stranger Things now.
No, Brett Gelman.
Yeah.
He does have a Brett Gelman vibe.
Just kind of that same look. It's like, oh well, we have Brett Gelman as the modern version of this guy now.
I love him in this, but I personally felt that I would want a guardian angel with more empathy. Or more, like,
your own,
put my arm around me and,
You wished your own had more empathy?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he pretty much was like, I mean, hey, once we walk out, that's it. I got to go do this other thing. Like,
exactly.
That's a good point. But this one, we wake up, Maddie's a star. She plays the George Bailey character. We hear, and I love the music in this. There's not really a whole lot of Christmassy. I mean, it's Christmassy, but as far as music goes, there's not a lot of Christmas like source cues, but there are some good diegetic music, and so we get the Ronettes in there.
Yep.
and with their sleigh ride, and that's another one of those songs that you hear and you're instantly in the Christmas spirit. At least I am.
I said that in the first Moonlighting Christmas episode. I hear the Phil Spector, any song from the Phil Spector Christmas album, and I don't care if it's 110 and I'm in the desert. I mean, it's Christmas immediately. And those songs were in this. And so actually, that's for me, that's really the only part of this that actually felt real Christmassy. I didn't feel real moved like in a Christmas way with this episode.
I gotcha.
See, and I feel like they really missed an opportunity as far as Christmas music goes. I don't remember at what point in the series they released the soundtrack album to Moonlighting, where Bruce Willis had a couple of songs, Cybill Shepherd had a couple of songs, but there's a Moonlighting Christmas album.
That would have been cool.
You can see Bruce Willis doing "Zat You Santa Claus."
Yes.
Cybill Shepherd doing "Santa Baby."
Santa Baby,
Easy.
Oh, that would be good.
And there are so many shows that do that now. Ally McBeal was great at doing that kind of stuff, pumping out the soundtracks and doing and taking songs from their Christmas episodes and putting out a Christmas record. And I just feel like, man, that was, but there wasn't the kind of merchandising then that there was
true.
even a decade later.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's true.
It was different, a much different kind of merchandising. But you're right, though. I mean, Ally McBeal, like David E. Kelly, I guess, feels like he took notes from this show. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it really did feel like he's just copying down everything. Oh, I can do this. I don't need to be a lawyer anymore. But yeah, so Maddie is getting ready to to leave. She gets a call from her parents, and she was like, I can't come home for Christmas. I have this case. And that's like the big problem, I guess, of the episode, is that even though the staff was originally going to have the whole Christmas season or the week or whatever off, they can't anymore because now they have a court case and some work to do for this case for December 28th. So they have to be in the office and working and getting stuff done, which as a Christmas fan, of course, that hurts.
Never work in healthcare.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
the last month of the year between everybody's insurance expiring on New Year's Eve and everybody having their kids off for Christmas break from not only elementary school but college.
Yeah,
I work for a dermatologist, so another big thing is people want to look good for those family pictures.
Oh yeah.
And so and the trip to grandma doesn't want to see the pre-teenagers and teenagers with acne.
Yeah.
So everybody's always very anxious to get in and get their kids their medicines so they look nice for the holiday season.
Right.
And of course we have all the issues with medications being as expensive as they are. And prior authorizations.
Yeah.
And I have started doing a thing where my birthday is in the middle of July. So I do what I call pre-Christmas celebration. And I do a little Christmas in July just so that I can enjoy, part of the season, because I know in December it's going to go by in a blink and I'm not going to, have much of a chance to get to enjoy the time period while it's there because I'm just going to be that busy.
At the time, this just sort of flew by me. And a lot of times when I find little things in a plot of a show or a movie that would never fly, I try to say sometimes you just have to let the art wash over you. But my brother is a lawyer. And we don't know anything really about this case that is suddenly moving up. But I know, just because my brother's a lawyer, that the odds of there being a case that is in court
that time of year
that time of year, very small. If you are investigating on behalf of this client and for whatever reason your investigation's not going to be complete, the case gets continued and the judge will agree to that. So when I look at this show now, I'm like, okay, this is this
Not gonna happen.
But it's a minor detail that
Yeah.
moves this particular plot along.
Exactly. We need the plot to move forward.
funny.
Yeah.
It's like when doctors watch ER or that kind of thing. I'm sure they go, oh, right. Yeah.
Mhm.
It never happened.
Yeah, same thing with one of my favorite shows of all time is House, and with Hugh Laurie, and so much of his doctor stuff is just completely wrong, but it's so entertaining. I mean, who cares?
Right.
But
right at some point, you just have to go, okay,
yeah,
it's art, it's TV,
exactly,
not real.
That's right. This gentleman's case is moved up, and they have to work on Christmas now. And of course, Maddie's mom gets mad at her because she doesn't even have time to go visit her sick aunt in the hospital, which, oof, that's a...
Yeah.
So she gets to the detective agency. Everyone's just ripping decorations down. They're so mad and frustrated and very passive aggressive.
Even Agnes is like very outspoken about, the message that you started the show with. So
we're going to be working here, so just ask for the Grinch,
Mr. Pesto, what's going on?
Nothing's going on. It's all coming off. We're undecking the halls. Excuse me, but the quicker we get this done, the quicker we can get our noses back to their grindstones.
I take it this refers to my memo.
What memo? Oh, you mean the memo about working Christmas. I think I remember taking a glance at that memo.
Hey, you don't have to take the decorations down.
Says who? I mean, no point in hanging out the stocking when Santa ain't coming to town. Blue Detective Agency, if your stocking gets stolen and your tree can't be found, you may as well call us because we'll be around. We have to work Christmas, so if you're in a pinch, just give Blue Moon a jingle and ask for the Grin.
And Agnes is usually a sweetheart. You remember in that first Christmas episode, I mean, she's the one, she finds the baby.
She took care of it.
She took care of it. I mean, she's, just so nice and loving. And in this, she's just upset as well, which I get. I'd be upset if I had to work on Christmas also.
Yeah.
So David goes to talk with her and, she's like, hey, what am I going to do? Like, we have to get this case done. We agreed to take the case. Like, what do you want me to do? Just say no? And he, of course, gets that line. Well, that's what I would have done, which comes back later. But she gets the news also that her aunt has passed away and she never got to see her. And so now she's feeling really miserable. And that's where she goes to leave. She goes to drink, And as she's leaving, her employees, they really have a field day with her here. And McGillicuddy, he says something like about some throwaway remark about, Angel or going to get her hair done or her nails done or something. I mean, it's not a great line, don't say that, but still, he says it and she gets mad and fires him. And he says, no, you can't fire me.
You can't fire me. I quit.
I quit. Yep. And everybody starts clapping.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Like, what would she have done if everybody had just walked out?
Yeah. Yep.
Would have been a short episode.
True. Yeah. Very true.
They probably would have mentioned it. They probably would have mugged to the camera and been like, what a short episode.
Yeah. 15-minute runtime.
That's right. So she goes to a bar to get drunk and drown her sorrows. And that's where she meets Albert, who is Richard Libertini.
Shouldn't stand so close to the edge.
Look, fella.
Albert.
Fine, Albert. Since you can't take a hint, I'll be blunt. I'm not interested.
Neither am I. But not the way you think. Look, you want to jump? Jump.
What makes you think I want to jump?
Oh, come on. I wasn't born yesterday. I've been doing this for thousands of years.
Doing what?
This. Stepping into people's lives when things seem the blackest. Urging them to press on. Occasionally making something extraordinary happen. Like I just did with you.
Excuse me.
A couple of hours ago, you said that you wished you never kept your business open. You did, didn't you?
Get away from me.
Oh, Maddie.
I mean, I don't blame her for being all like weirded out by this guy. If some random guy just kind of came up to you and started telling you different things, and oof, Yeah.
Yeah.
But she goes to the top of the building. She's thinking, she has like for the briefest moment thinking about jumping, and he stops her. But basically she says she wishes that she had never kept the agency open, that she had just sold it and gotten rid of it. And that's kind of our George Bailey Clarence moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I feel he's not as passionate or empathetic. He's like, go ahead. You know, you can go that way or you can go two ways off of this building. You can get in the elevator or you can jump, as opposed to like diving in if, you know.
Right.
Anyway, that's my feeling, but
that's true. Clarence, it did go jump into first. So
he was a guardian angel who seemed like he had lots of other stuff to do. So if you're going to jump, go ahead.
Like, just get it done.
Exactly.
I got to go take care of this other person.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a busy night for me. Come on.
Yeah,
exactly.
Is this Christmas Eve? Do they actually say if it's Christmas Eve,
I thought,
or is it just a few days before?
I thought it was a few days before. There was something, I know they mentioned like 9 days, but I don't remember at what point where that was. If that was the 28th, but I don't think it's Christmas Eve.
Okay. I was wondering.
Yeah, it didn't feel like Christmas Eve to me either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Okay.
But it was getting close.
It was definitely close.
Well, it was close enough that they had to take the ornaments down instead of putting them up. So.
Right.
But yeah, I like when so he says something like, I've been, like, hey, I wasn't born yesterday. I've been doing this for thousands of years, stepping into people's lives when things seem, the darkest or the blackest or something. And he says, occasionally making something extraordinary happen. And that's where we get our moment. And so he's like, no, go ahead, go down the elevator. I won't go with you. Just pick a floor, any floor you want. Doesn't matter. And so one of the things, before she kind of snaps, or he snaps reality into this other alternate timeline here, we had like a Santa that showed up, was talking about a tree trimming or in the lobby.
In the lobby. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. And so in this case, she sees the Santa and asks him about it. He's like, what are you talking about? That's tomorrow. And that's like our first instance of, ooh, something's different.
Something happened.
Yeah.
She goes back to her office, and this is one of the cool things. And this is where I love when TV shows do this all the time.
I do too. Yep.
Yeah, me too.
She gets to the office, and it's the Heart Agency. It's not Blue Moon Detective Agency. And it's a throw, like a call to Heart to Heart. Did y'all watch that show? I never really watched that one.
My parents did, but I remember sitting in the room for an episode or two. But I knew about it, and I knew who he was. And actually, there's a point when they both look at each other like, do I know you, or you look familiar?
Yeah.
And they both like, nah.
Don't I know you from somewhere?
Nah. Excuse me.
Yeah.
What is this place?
This is the Heart Detective Agency. Are you lost? My employers, Mr. and Mrs. H, they're the greatest at this sort of thing.
Would you happen to know what happened to the Blue Moon Detective Agency?
Blue Moon Detective Agency?
They used to be here in these offices.
Oh, them, yeah. They sold out. Came in one day, fired everybody, 1, 2, 3. They sold the lease to Mr. and Mrs. H, I think. That was about two and a half years ago.
2.5 years ago?
Look, if you need a detective, Mr. and Mrs. H are the greatest. And boy, can they wear clothes.
Yeah, it was Lionel Stander playing Max. And Max, I guess, is their butler or sir. I don't know. I don't know
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I really know about that show is I have one of those, back when they used to do the TV theme songs and opening things, and I have the 70s and 80s one, and you hear his narration as Max talking about working for the Hearts. So I recognized his voice, but I didn't recognize his face.
Yeah.
For a second, I'm like, he kind of looks like Ernest Borgnine, but he's not.
He did kind of look a little
No,
like
he did.
Yeah.
But
what a great voice he had.
He did have,
Yes, I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep. Yeah, she runs into him. He talks about how much he loves working for the Hearts. And then he says, yeah, they bought this place from the Blue Moon, agency way back in the day, like 2 years ago. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, hey, don't worry. If you need a detective, Mr. and Mrs. H are like the best.
Yeah.
And then he says something odd like, and boy, can they wear clothes or something like that. I wrote that down. It was one of the strangest things.
I'm assuming, it was their, what they used to wear. I'm assuming.
I guess. I really don't know.
Well, they were always impeccably, amazingly dressed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I figured that was the case.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Nolan Miller, or was Nolan Miller Dynasty? Or I know Bob Mackey and Nolan Miller did a lot of the primetime dramas, the costuming, the wardrobe, and I'm wondering if that's why. Because when I look at the outfit that Maddie's wearing in pretty much this entire episode, except when we see two of her and she's wearing a different outfit, that purple. The funny thing about that shade of purple is that the one time I was a bridesmaid for a wedding, that was the exact shade of
that's the shade that they pick.
That's the shade that my sister-in-law picked for us to wear in the early aughts. So it must have been, really the late aughts, because it was 2009. So
maybe it had circled back already. They say fashion,
that color must have
like every 20
back.
or 30 years. It usually comes back.
It was weird. And
it was Nolan Miller.
The phone
by the way.
that she answers at the beginning was the same phone that I had when I got my first phone.
Oh,
that
nice.
white little little princess slimline thing with the little green buttons that lit up. It's like, oh, it's my phone.
Anyway, she's all upset. She leaves. She runs into Albert again, and she asks if he's like a genie or a witch, and he says, "No, I'm your guardian angel. I've always been by you. Kind of maybe making this happen or making someone call you when you needed to. So which." That's a nice comforting thought as well, especially for a Christmas episode.
True. That's true.
Anyway, he's like, hey, it's done. We're good to go. You sold the agency. You never ran it. And so she's all excited and is ready to leave. And he's like, well, hey, wait a minute. Wait. Don't you want to know like what happened to everybody? And that's where he like takes her on, this is your life, the last 2 years, basically.
Well, at first she doesn't want to.
Yeah,
she's like, I'm done. I don't care. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, it's almost like, well, no, I mean, we got to go through this training before you can, ride this chopper here.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, they go in the elevator and he takes her to see the new Agnes DePesto's business, and it's like Rhymes for the Times or something like that. It's so funny. All the employees, okay, this kind of drove me crazy a little bit. And I love rhymes. I love, songs that rhyme, stuff like that. But it drove me a little bit crazy.
It was like a Dr. Seuss hell.
It really, exactly.
Yeah.
And what do you do with those words that don't rhyme with anything, like orange,
You don't say them at work.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
You come as close as you can with words like door hinge. Or you, I don't know, you Dr. Seuss it and make up a word.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
But she sees a lady talking on the phone and she's rhyming. She assumes it's Agnes, but it's not. It's some other lady. And Albert tells her, hey, this is her place. She runs it now, and she kind of runs it with an iron fist.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's tough.
She is. She really is.
Yeah.
So, we cut to her office, and she calls in some employees and just starts like berating them and reprimanding them. And like, oof, I don't want to work for her.
Yeah.
Oh, you call this a rhyme? I've heard better mime. This means your job's precarious. Next time I want hilarious.
Yeah.
It was like, if you thought Maddie was mean, this was like 10 times. And she's all in black. I mean, it was, would not want to work for her.
Right.
So
Maddie's like, this isn't you. What are you doing? You have the biggest heart of all. And then Bert comes in, and he's here to talk to her about a memo that she sent wanting him to like fire everybody.
Yeah.
Or these 7 people or whatever. And he says, I won't do it. It's Christmas time. And really puts up a fight.
Yeah. Well, he's the vice president, I guess,
right,
of the company. So he has some,
some say.
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, and Albert alluded to the fact that some people are just drawn to each other, like they're just destined to be in each other's lives.
Yep.
And so it seems like that's what's happening with Bert and Agnes.
Yep.
But in this case, it's like this weird.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like these two dueling emotions because he even tells her like, I hate you, because she says fire them or I'll fire you.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's just like, no, come on, Bert. But then she asks him over for the booty call later that night. So
right. What time should I be there?
That's right. Yeah.
I was hoping that wasn't the case. I was like, maybe it's because they have to agree on a rhyme for another card or something. But 10:30 at night, I'll give it to you. Wait, I didn't mean it that way, but I mean.
But that's probably what happened.
That's probably
probably. But I didn't. I was trying not to have that be what I was thinking.
But Maddie, of course, has like a moment of self-actualization. She's like, "This isn't Agnes. This is me. Like this is how I behave. It's not how she behaves." And so that's like her first, like this is what happens when you're not around kind of moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they go back to the elevator. I did like how the elevator kind of was the magical segue to everything.
Yes. The Wonkavator.
That's right.
Yeah.
With the Star Trek The Next Generation graphics.
That's right.
Yeah. That's all I could think of, but that's neither here nor there.
Make it so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the doors open and he's like, we're going to your house, and there's like this huge, like, I don't know, Christmassy, or maybe not Christmassy, but just this huge party. And I guess it's like an engagement party.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
like, I don't have an elevator in my house.
But it turns out it's David's house now. And he lives there and he's marrying Cheryl Teagues. But okay, how creepy was his friend Charles Rocket? I mean, that guy was creepy.
I think that's his brother.
Yeah, that's
his
brother.
Is his brother? Okay,
yeah, because he appeared in other episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was his brother, but yeah, very creepy.
Everything he was saying to him was like, "Dude, what are you doing?
Just stop! Stop!"
Yeah. Because he says something like, "Tell her like tell me that you'll leave her to me." In your will, like if you die or something. I mean, it's just like, whoa, okay, come on, guys.
He goes on about I covet her with, and I'm like, what time did this show originally air?
Yeah.
You were worried about, making Herb sound dirty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, Charles Rocket, it was like it was a given.
Oof. But yeah, it was just that was a whole odd exchange, but.
And it was the kind of thing David Addison might have said to somebody.
That's very true.
Well, it is
That's
also
very
true. Yeah. But the way he would have said it, I think, would have been a lot more playful than the way his brother
just
said it.
List
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, his was just a little too stalkery, for me. She watches as, like, they kiss and they're dancing together, and then he and his brother go outside and talk, and David's just not sure if like Cheryl Teagues is the one. And as his brother mentions Maddie, that's when like his eyes just kind of light up and he has like a fire about him. And even though there might have been some sort of something between the actors, maybe, I mean, that chemistry though is really palpable. You can really feel like, and I don't know if it's just their acting or what, but there really is some sort of umph between them that you can feel later on.
Well, and I think he says, he didn't really know her that well because she closed the agency. I guess
Right.
In that first episode, she would have closed the agency. So he really, all those things that happened, didn't happen.
Right.
So he was just thinking, this is the type of woman she might be.
Which, that's deep. That cuts.
Yeah.
She slapped me once. She was even a great slapper. I don't know, Rich. It was something. She just had class, strength. I really admired her.
You did?
She had this softness about her, this warmth.
I thought you didn't even know her.
No, I didn't really. I mean, not the way I wanted to. It was that one time when she closed the office. And then I bought this place. It was just a feeling. I bet she was a really special girl.
Oh man, yeah. So anyway, they go back to the elevator. She starts kind of having regrets, of course, about everything in all the last few years, and it's just you picture that George Bailey moment where he's just kind of that
Yes.
close up of his face, and he's just crazed eyes,
Yep.
But yeah, so the doors open, they're back in the bar, and this is where we see Maddie and herself, and she's got like you were talking about that other dress on, because most of the show she was wearing her original dress.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And she has like, I mean, I think she even says something like, "What's wrong with me?" or something like that.
Well, her hair isn't as done as every other episode,
right?
And the dress is, not
plain.
Yeah,
plain.
exactly.
Yeah, and Albert tells her, "Well, you don't have any friends. You're not really close to your family. This is it. I mean, what do you want?"
Yeah.
And it's the first time that he mentions that her aunt had died.
Right.
Yeah.
He never says anything about that. And I think what really kind of changes at the beginning of the episode, because she's got the present, she's getting ready, she's going to go over there at some point, and then she gets the call from her dad that the aunt has already died. And I really think that a lot of what happens, it really seems to me that the guilt is kind of what prompts her to make that wish. Like, if I didn't have this agency and I didn't have this job and I didn't have to be here, I could have gone to my aunt sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if that's really what the impetus for this episode was her grief, her regret at not going to see her aunt sooner.
Yeah.
Well, when we go back early in the episode, when her dad calls her, I think he gave her like a talking down.
I think he did,
because
yeah.
she does. She says, "I know it's only 3 blocks away. I know you live
hundreds of miles." Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think she really got it from her dad, which I'm sure hurt as well.
You're right.
So,
which is a very dad thing to do as well.
Very true.
Like, come on, you're right there. I'm hundreds of miles away. I wish I could go see her. Maybe I just can't afford it or whatever. You're right there. Like, yeah. And I think you're right. You're definitely right about it. And so there is that kind of real palpable guilt, but I like how they're in the car with the other Maddie.
Yeah.
And, they're talking, and she just starts flying. Basically, she just starts taking off down the road.
They're going awfully fast. Am I going to be all right?
Maddie.
Whoa! What you trying to do? Kill us? She's going to kill herself! Ourselves!
The implication is that, she wants to kill herself, and then they straight out say it, that she is trying to kill herself. We're going way too fast.
Yeah.
And that's where she's like, "No, I want to live," basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's almost like it's still George Bailey, but it's also very much like a Scrooge kind of moment,
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's fixed. She wakes up, she's still at that bar, and the bartender's like, "No, you haven't gone anywhere. You've been here."
You took one sip
and sip, and yeah.
Yeah.
In the pretzels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. Which, please change those pretzels, guy.
Please, yes.
Yeah. Dump those out. Don't let it.
Yeah, that's not the kind of bar that changed the pretzels.
No, they're not.
No, I agree.
But I did like how as they were, speeding up and they're about to crash into the wall, we get like a flashback of like a bunch of different scenes throughout the 2 years.
All the stuff that David, when he was talking about her, didn't happen.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So of course she's now in her newly found George Bailey moment, and so she runs back to the office, and I did wonder because it seems like it's late, right? I mean, it was nighttime, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, it no.
I mean, she left during the day, but like,
well, it was
maybe it's just because the lights were off, or I don't know.
He says it's going to be 6:15, and then I'm going to snap my fingers. And she somehow she realizes it's like 6:30. I think the bartender tells her.
Okay, I missed that part. I missed that.
If you guys can correct me, but I think something like that happened. But yeah, I think it was 6:30, and I'm thinking, well, the office is going to be closed.
Right. Well, and that's why I thought it was like night.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, why is McGillicuddy still there?
It's December, so it would be dark.
Well, that's true.
True.
That's
true.
Yeah, that's a good point. It does get dark early.
Unlike tomorrow.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. Yeah. Oof. Not looking forward to losing that hour. But yeah, so David, DePesto, and McGillicuddy are there, and I guess her dad had called back or something. David had heard about her aunt's death, so they were a little more understanding of why she was upset and leaving, and she immediately goes to hug them, asks McGillicuddy to come back, and it's all.
Why was he there?
That's why I'm saying, like, I don't get why. Yeah,
unless David called him and said, "Here's the deal. Why don't you come back so you can act in good faith by putting up decorations or whatever?"
I guess I don't know. Or
took
him a while to clean out his desk.
Well, that's one of those things, like Ken said. You just pretend it's washing over you. So
right.
So anyway, she tells them to call Mr. Hamilton, that they can't take his case because it's Christmas.
Yep.
And I guess they'll get what did you say? A continuance? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Well, that's what the lawyers would get. Yeah.
Yeah.
The investigators wouldn't ask for that, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, either way, the lawyers will go get it. It's okay. And
well, I think she probably doesn't care if they lose the case.
Right.
It's just we'll
just tell them
make it up somewhere. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then as everybody goes away, she grabs David and gives him a huge kiss.
And you.
What was that? Who cares?
And to all a good night.
Yeah, they
breaks
say
the fourth wall.
Breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
They wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And she looks at Albert, and he's kind of like waving, and then he disappears.
Yep.
So, yeah, very. I guess that's kind of their bell ringing.
Yeah.
Although I suppose he's already had his wings because he said he's been doing it for thousands of years. So.
Yeah,
right.
That's true. Well, there is that little part when he's coming out of an elevator that his feet don't touch the ground.
Right. Yeah.
But then they show him, and of course is about the same height as Maddie. So it's like, okay, I guess that's one of those things that it's like, okay.
Just in case you didn't get it.
That's right. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, something supernatural is happening here.
I mean, I'm sure it was hard to do because they've got to film that,
right?
So they want it in there, but
yeah, I liked this episode. It was fun.
Yeah,
I don't know if I like this one or the other Christmas episode better.
I think the other Christmas episode was actually more Christmas. I think, but I mean, and I love Wonderful Life. It's one of my favorite all-time movies, but I just didn't feel very Christmas. But then that's what some people say about It's a Wonderful Life.
Well, it's true. There's not a whole lot of Christmas about it until like the very end. Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't have the Ronettes.
That's
in
right.
Wonderful Life. So.
It's a good point. They should.
Yeah.
Someone cut that in there.
Watching this now in 2023, I watched this episode, and it makes me think a little bit about It's a Bundyful Life. that Christmas episode from Married with Children, because Sam Kinison is the guardian angel and shows him, and everybody's life is better without Al there. And I look at this one, and they may not be happier, but they're all successful.
Yeah. True.
David Addison has bought this house and is marrying Cheryl Teagues, and Agnes DePesto owns this company, and Herb Viola is vice president of this company. So they're all doing really well, even if they're not good people. They're still really successful.
Yep.
Like, wow, everybody gets to be successful because Maddie wasn't there.
Yeah. That's very, very true. Very true.
Ooh, so maybe is it a win? I'm not sure.
It's a win for the people that love the show like us that kept going.
There you go.
Ken, you got a very good point.
It's a win for the world because they're better people.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, Moonlighting was it was so fun. And every time they did an episode, you never knew really quite what to expect. And I liked that about the show. You know, it kept you on your toes.
And having Cheryl Teagues on, I don't know if she's like an answer to a trivia question today, but in the 80s, she was a big deal. And Moonlighting used to do that kind of thing. I don't remember if it was at the end of the first episode, or the first season, or the second season, when they had Whoopi Goldberg and Judd Nelson on an episode.
Yep.
And it was so there's star power on there, and they still do that thing where you're in on the joke with them, because as it's getting to the climax, they're running out of a scene and you see all the crew and everything.
Yes.
And then Judd Nelson has a gun, but it's just about the end of the episode. So the prop guy comes and takes it back. And, and it's a big joke that you're in on.
Yeah.
But still they had stars of 1986 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was Cheryl Teagues? I don't remember her. I remember Christy Brinkley because of the Billy Joel connection, the Uptown Girl. What was Cheryl Teagues? Was it jeans? Was it?
She was on Sports Illustrated, the swimsuit issue a lot, and
she was one of the first supermodels.
Right? Yeah. Apparently, I guess
I remember her name, and I remember her, but I don't. I think it's because as a teenage girl or a woman, I saw more of the people like Carol Alt and more of the people who advertised like the fashion and beauty items.
Oh, right.
Than
right. Well, I know she was on Time. She was on Time magazine as well, and I think in like the late 70s or early 80s, there was like that famous pink bikini poster of her that I think everybody had. It was like that one. The one with Farrah Fawcett was another real popular one.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I split second thought she was part of Charlie's Angels later episodes, but I don't think that's the case. But I knew who she was, and I knew who she was back in '86. Thinking that's a big land.
Well, I know
for this show.
I think she did CoverGirl as well. She was like,
I think so.
Involved with CoverGirl Cosmetics. Yeah,
that might have been before because when Moonlighting started, I was kind of in that transition between I watched Gem and the Holograms in the afternoon, and this night I watched Moonlighting.
Right.
But Bruce Willis was in Teen Beat magazine. I remember one of the first issues I got when I first got a Teen Beat magazine. The cover had Bruce Willis because they were talking about his Bruno.
Oh yeah,
album.
Love that album.
I actually, I enjoy that album.
Michael J. Fox, Ralph Macchio, Kirk Cameron.
Yep.
And Tom Cruise.
There's an interview.
That's the mid-80s.
He's like on Letterman. I think it was when the first season came out. It might have been like second season, but there's an interview of him on Letterman. He like hasn't shaved. He's like very wise guy. He might have been drinking. And he's talking about moonlighting. He introduces this clip. It's just looking at him there and then seeing him like on how suave and I mean, he still was, funny and silly, but he had like a charm and he still was kind of smooth. And it's like a big switch. I wonder if I can
find it.
Yeah, and just screen share or something really quickly.
Yeah.
Because it is
I'd love to see it.
All right.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's when I well, you know this, when I bought a record player a couple years ago, that was one of the first albums I landed was the Bruno album.
Yeah, it was strange. YouTube, but it's you got to watch it because it's just like, what is going on, Bruce Willis?
Well, I'm surprised that Letterman didn't catch that and like give him grief.
Let's see, here it is. Okay, from 1985.
Wow.
How do you get along with Cybill Shepherd? I think she's terrific on that show.
She's great. She's so good.
Is she nice in person? She was here once, I think, a couple
on
of
this
years
show.
ago.
She was on the show.
Yeah.
Like, look at his hair.
She's really nice. She's really nice. We laugh all day long. Actually, people say, "Wow, Bruce, it's a funny show," but there should be a show about how we make the show, because I'm telling you, more jokes get told and more funny things happen.
Yeah.
Well, you're in the business, 40 years, Dave? Huh?
Do you get along well with her? You have a nice relationship, nice rapport?
You see this scar over here?
No,
we get along great. No, really, we do.
You have a real good chemistry on the show. I'm sure others have pointed
He
that
looks
out.
like he's
but I
on
think it's a real
something,
nice
you know?
I have a chemical set.
I agree.
Right there.
Anyway, do you think Cybill would ever come back and see us?
Come back and see you?
Yeah. Tell her when you get back to California, tell her we'd like to have her on
She
the
asked
show.
me about that $10 you owed there.
Yeah,
She said,
I'll mail that to her.
Okay, good. Just give it to me right now. I'm going home.
All right.
Wow.
That
was wow.
Yeah, it was something else.
Wow.
But you see that and you're just like, he still has like the jokes, but it's just without, like, it's just a little harder edged, like a little more rough around the edges than David Addison.
I love Letterman, but if I'd seen that clip, I don't know that I would have, if I hadn't watched Moonlighting before, that clip would not make me watch it.
Yeah.
He'd like, what is this guy?
Oh goodness. But it does make me wonder, what would you guys say are your happiest memory or moments with Moonlighting?
I'll go. The same in the Shrew episode when he comes and does the 60s song and gets the whole church rocking. That's yeah. That's mine.
Right on.
There are bits and pieces over the entirety of the series that I think, I loved when they did this or I loved when they did that. But for me, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but for me, it always comes back to the pilot, because I think they did such a great job of establishing these two characters, and they gave them so much life, and it was so fun, and the writing was so great, and the dialogue was so terrific, that it hooked me, and I had to be there every Tuesday after that aired to see what happened next.
Nice.
Nice. Yep.
Karen?
There was a scene in the first Christmas episode that they did where they were talking about kids, and it was really funny to me because, of course, Bruce was also very well known for his voiceover work in Look Who's Talking as Baby Mikey.
That's right.
And it was weird because I was thinking last fall, I haven't watched Look Who's Talking a long time. I really want to watch Look Who's Talking. And then like the next week we found out about Kirstie Alley.
Oh no.
Oh wow.
And there's and it's so and not too long before that we lost Olivia Newton-John. And now we have Bruce, and we have Bruce Willis, and we have his health issues. And I'm just kind of, and John Travolta has already lost his wife and a child. And it's kind of weird to see, all of these people that we grew up watching, just kind of either disappear or get sick and leave, and every year there are more and more of them. I guess, it's part of, getting older and everything, but it doesn't make it any easier. It's like watching, your childhood just like fade away. And then we have, the physical media, and we have streaming, but not everything is streaming. I know there's like some issues with Moonlighting where they're having issues getting the clearance for the music and things like that.
Yeah. It is a shame that it's not streaming anywhere. Like you can have to go to like YouTube or Daily Motion or one of those places, and the quality is just not great.
Yeah, I watched the episode. I watched the pilot, the first Christmas episode, and the Shakespeare episode with and without commentary on my DVD. And then I wanted to do a quick review before the show just to, kind of pick out my moments. And I went to watch the episode on YouTube, and there was a weird thing with the audio where everybody's voice sounded a little bit different.
You were telling me that. Yeah.
The minute I think Maddie had the first line. Well, even the song at the beginning, I'm like, that's too low.
It did sound,
and then Maddie sounded low, and then David and well, any guy, Albert, any guy sounded like they were like low bass as far as so yeah.
I mean, that's what happens when you don't have like a clean copy to work with, you're just uploading to YouTube, but because it's not streaming anywhere and you don't have a physical copy.
Yeah, I think it was about 5 years ago I decided to catch all of what I could. I think there were a few episodes missing on YouTube, and the all the music was kind of dubbed out. So it was so
I mean, it makes sense a lot of times.
Well, no, it does.
When they do these shows, they do like give TV rights, or even limited TV rights where you can play it for like a certain amount of times, or you can play it for something similar, or sometimes they won't even use the full song. They'll use like, you have this much of a song. I mean, there's really intense copyright issues and stipulations that are involved with these, and so it makes sense, but it's just one of those where you'd kind of hoped some of this stuff would have been settled by now. So
well, when I was I was a junior or senior in high school, I'd get home and on Lifetime they'd show 2 episodes, and I was like, I hadn't seen it for a few years, but I mean, they only did 65 episodes. It's not something that I mean, I would love to see it in reruns, but I don't think it met that. I think it's like 79, 80 episodes, I think, or even higher that they, to syndicate it.
Yeah. It's usually around 80.
I think they need 100.
It's something
I know it's a lot more than 65. That's for sure.
It's 65 is actually the standard for animation. It's like a full 13 weeks, 5 days a week. And so whenever they were selling shows for syndication, like G.I. Joe, He-Man, stuff like that, it was 65. But I think for live action, it's somewhere between 80 and 100. I don't remember the exact number.
I know
off
that
the top of my head, but
Star Trek, the original Star Trek, just
barely made it.
So I bet that's what, 79 or 78 or whatever episodes,
something like that. Yeah.
So
But now we come to my favorite part of the show, which is a little segment I like to call "Gag Me with the Spoon." So we love Moonlighting, we really do, but there's some parts we don't like quite as much as the rest. And so this is where we do our best impression of our least favorite part. And as the guests, I'll let you go first. Maybe Michael, you'll lead us off. Just kind of set up the scene for us and then do your best impression.
It's the rhyming building job.
Yep.
And the woman, the guy was the guy that did the Micro Machines.
Oh, was he?
I believe so. I believe so.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah.
Again, we had to watch it on YouTube, so the sound was lower. So I'm going to be a woman, but my voice is not going to change. She says, "You've got to be kidding! I don't have the time. You do your own work. I've already got mine."
Oof. I can't imagine having to rhyme all day long.
Yeah. That was good.
Ken, you want to try?
No, just kidding. It's not so much. It's not so much an impression as what I really didn't like about this particular episode was the way Albert, the guardian angel, wrapped things up and telling her it's too late. It's too late. And it just seems like if it's too late, what was the point of your being
exactly.
here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You showed her how everybody else is successful but not particularly good people, and that's her fault. And now it's too late to do anything about it, and you're going to die in this fiery crash.
Yep.
And I'm like, what kind of guardian angel is that?
How did that get by anybody at the network? Like,
Right. Oh yeah, it is funny. He's like, yeah, the die is cast. Isn't that what he says?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean when in the beginning of the show, when I said, I don't think he's very compassionate or empathetic.
Yeah.
Because you've messed up. These people's lives are better, and you're gonna die in about 30 seconds.
Like I got 15 people in line, so
Exactly.
like let's get this over with here.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, and my show's getting ready to come on, so I gotta go.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
It's kind of. Did you guys see Spirited, the thing with Will Ferrell and Ryan
I did,
Reynolds?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
The twist where the Ghost of Christmas Present was someone that you would not expect.
Oh yeah.
Ghost of Christmas Present to be. And so Ryan Reynolds' character starts making him worse. he was getting better.
Is that what Albert was doing? He's just getting worse.
And Ryan Reynolds' character is just reversing the whole thing. Like, no, this isn't how this is supposed to go.
Albert just had one too many Ryan Reynolds that he had to deal with. He's like, come on, let's get this over with. That's good. What about you, Karen?
I really did not like David's brother at all. I covet her with many different body parts, Dave. Just like, oh, gross.
And they listed them.
I know. What I'm saying, it's like creeper, like super, just awful vibes. Come on,
yeah,
man.
but that so fit David's personality that I could see that as that's his brother saying that to him.
Yeah.
Right.
It did fit. It was still stalkery and gross, but it still
fit.
Yeah,
I agree.
Right.
Maybe not in a Christmas episode.
Character appropriate, but yeah. Yeah. Those are all good. So I also picked at the rhyming place, of course. And so this is where Agnes is kind of berating some of her staff, and she, rips the sign from one of the girls that work for her, and she says, "Since your job's precarious, next time I want hilarious."
Yes. Yep.
It's like, okay, you can see her gears like, just moving in there. It's like, okay.
Well, I think she grabbed that sign from the lady I did my line from.
I think you're right. Oh man, but G.I. Joe taught us that knowing is half the battle. What do you guys think the other half is?
You've got to try to get an angel that's more empathetic. I mean,
right on.
If you're having a personal problem, such as you have a sick family member, tell the people. I mean, she could have, even if she didn't want to tell the whole office, she could have at least mentioned something to, if not David, Agnes, because we know Agnes would have given her a hug. Agnes would have, Mr. Pesto would have Mr. Pestoed and been warm and loving, and
that's true.
Comforted her, and it's not your fault, and you sometimes these things happen. Just something, she would have said something comforting to her.
Yeah.
And I think on the one hand, yes, she could have said something to David, but David could have said something, flippant and just silly and dismissive. But if she'd confided in Agnes might have been able to help her somehow. So yeah, definitely when you're having a difficult time, definitely reach out to, the people around you, because they might not know, necessarily what you're going through.
Yeah.
Man, now I feel bad about mine. What about you, Ken?
So do I.
I would just sort of copying what Karen said, but I would say just simply tell the people that you care about them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much of this. It's not quite a Three's Company episode where there's just a misunderstanding, but there's so much feelings and information that just doesn't get shared.
Right.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
I think in this episode, if Maddie had said at the beginning, money is tight and we need this client to be able to stay open, if she would have said that to everybody, nobody would have been excited about it. But I think in an office like that, they would have at least understood.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do this so we can keep our jobs.
There is a spot in the episode where David says, "You didn't ask. You told."
Yeah.
Right.
So I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, those are all way better than mine. I said, if knowing is half the battle, the other half is just having a bowl of pretzels in case you pass out.
I feel a little better about mine.
You just want a bowl of pretzels that somebody else hasn't already passed out in.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Oh man, guys, it's been fun. This episode was really just entertaining, and you're right, maybe not super Christmassy, but it was fun. Really had it was a great message, and I got all the feels, and I had a blast talking about it with y'all. But what do you guys want to plug? Tell me about anything you got coming up. Why don't we start with you, Karen?
Well, as we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I write for the RetroNetwork. I do blog articles. I have a series on what I call Toy Spotlight, because originally I was calling it Toy of the Week, and then I wasn't doing it every week. But what I do is I try to take a different toy from usually the 80s. Nice. I've also written about an LOL doll that reminded me of things that I had when I was younger.
Right.
But usually it's toys from the 80s, like roller skating Ken, and what else have I done? I've done my Dale stuffed plush as an addition to an article about our trip to Disney World.
Nice.
Summer vacation. So there's a lot of fun things in there. I've written about strawberry shortcake. I've written about Bing Crosby and David Bowie's Little Drummer Boy.
Classic.
Just our local roller rink. Just different 1980s and some 1990s memories too.
Cool.
Because I had that thing where I was born in the late 70s, and then I had that 80s childhood and 90s adolescence.
Yep.
So I had kind of the best of both worlds in a lot of ways, as far as the toys and the music and just and the movies and the TV shows.
Right on. Yeah, definitely go check her out. Ken?
Well, when we started talking about doing this episode, and I was thinking about the missed opportunity of a Moonlighting Christmas album, I started to think about TV shows that did put out Christmas albums or that did have Christmas songs, whether they were released or not. And I'm looking to do an episode about that. A lot more research has to happen because there's so much, and I'm still going to miss some, and I know I will.
Yeah.
And that was going to be the next episode, but just recently I got messages on Facebook and on Twitter from people who didn't know that the Sounds of Christmas station was still on. So I'm probably going to do an episode about that. It is still on, and anytime you need a fix of Christmas music, here's what you'll find.
Right on.
So that's probably what's coming next.
Cool. Very cool.
Cool.
Michael?
You know me. It's I wrote a blog 15 years ago. That's pretty much it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, he's part of the Saturday Morning Mafia.
Yeah, true. Yeah, edit that. Just
show coming soon. No, I got you. But yeah, guys, it's been a lot of fun talking about this with you. And when you do that Christmas song episode, I would I'm down to hop on that if you don't mind having me. That sounds like so much fun.
Yep.
And I know what you mean
That
about
sounds
missing
awesome.
things. I did an 80s version of Silent Night episode. It was like a little mini-sode. And after I did it, I found like 8 to 10 more versions of Silent Night that I just completely missed.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they missed me. I mean,
Ah.
I knew I hadn't covered all. I left like 1 or 2 out by people that weren't really well known, like the Yobs. But there were some big names on here. Like, how did I miss this? I did so much research. So I know what you mean. It's tough to do something like that.
Well, anytime I do anything like that, I always start by saying, I apologize if I missed somebody that you love.
Yeah.
If I didn't include your favorite artist, your favorite song, I have thousands of songs in the Sounds of Christmas library, and I'm sorry, it's just me. And so I start by saying that, so that hopefully somebody who's waiting to hear about one particular thing and it's not on there, and they listen through the whole episode, that they understand I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't skip your favorite singer. I just messed up.
Yeah, didn't know.
Sometimes I do skip favorite singers on purpose, but no,
sometimes I do too.
Kidding. But there were some that it's made me. I want to go back and do a part 2 now. So I'll probably have a sequel episode at some point later this year. But again, guys, thank you, and this was a lot of fun.
Yep, thank you. It was nice meeting you guys too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was good to meet you.
Thank you.
And so on that note, I'll end it with, we just can't have his casework by the 28th. Doesn't he know it's Christmas? So check us out on our social media pages, Facebook and Instagram at Totally Rad Christmas, Twitter at Rad Christmas, Mastodon at Totally Rad Christmas at mastodon.world, or our Facebook group, Totally Rad Christmas Mall and Arcade, where you can make your voice known to us as well. We post anything and everything 80s or Christmas related. And if you're feeling like Maddie kissing David at Christmas, leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us reach more people and spread some rad holiday cheer. Now, don't forget to check out our merch shop on tpublic.com and our super dope website, totallyradchristmas.com, courtesy of 'Tis the Podcast Elf, Tom Crow. And to all, a good night. Later, dudes.
Hello. Now, I know you're out there looking at your watch. The show is over and there's 10 minutes left. Yes, the show is short, but we don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. See, there's a writer's strike going on and our lips are tied. There's just not words.
It's okay, I got it taken care of. Hi. Yeah, like she was saying, you see, we're just actors. We can only speak when somebody writes stuff for us to say, and the writers, they're on strike, and that's okay for them because, you know, this is American. Strikes happen in America, and that's all right. But anyway, we have a way out of this. I came up with an idea. Remember? Yeah, we do. Remember on the Ozzie and Harriet show, see, sometimes their show would be short, and then they would bring Ricky Nelson out, and he would sing a song. Well,
You're not going to sing.
no, not me. I'm not going to sing.
Well, I'm certainly not going to sing.
That's okay. We have somebody who is going to perform for you right now, and I want to bring him out right now. Come on.
No.
Bert?
Come on.
I'm not. No, I can't do this.
The camera's rolling.
I can't do this. I'm sorry.